I remember hearing The Clash, and sometimes the lead singer, he was in these pockets, but he just had this rougher way of presenting it. It reminded me of that.
Very interesting.
All right, you guys, we're back with Inside the Reaction, and this is the holiday season edition. I got my co-host with me, the one and only Tim Sommer. He's a music expert, and I'm your boy, Black Pegasus, and we're going to get into this holiday fun. Anyways, Tim, welcome back. How you doing?
What a pleasure. What a pleasure to celebrate the holiday spirit in some of the songs that have been recorded and played on the radio again and again and again and again and again, but still somehow reach us when we hear them in the supermarket or hear them coming out of someone else's cars. We think, it's that time of year. It's Christmas.
Yeah. There is something about the spirit of Christmas, and I think right after Thanksgiving and you start hearing the music in the grocery store, you kind of warm up inside.
And even if you don't warm up, one of the things these songs or a good Christmas song achieves is, even if you're not in the spirit, even if you're in aisle 5 wondering where the eggnog is, I can't find the eggnog, this is half and half, I don't want half and half. Even if you're in aisle 5 wandering around, you still think, oh yeah, I like this song, I like this time of year. Or you think, oh, I like that artist, or this song. The best thing a song can do is remind you of the first time you heard it, or remind you of who you were with. And a good Christmas song brings that back to you.
Let's keep that energy. What are some of your favorite Christmas songs?
I think of one of the most important artists of the 20th century, Louis Armstrong. And even if he didn't record, even if these songs weren't first recorded by him, I love Louis Armstrong's "Is That You, Santa Claus?" Is that you, Santa Claus? I love Louis Armstrong's version of Christmas Time in New Orleans, Armstrong's version of Christmas Time in Harlem. Strangely, if you ask me what my favorite Christmas songs are, I'd say those 3 songs by Louis Armstrong.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know if I have favorite Christmas songs because, I think of the ones that connected when I was a child, when we're in the car looking at lights. I think just simple ones like Jingle Bells. And
right.
What was it? Isn't there a Santa Claus rock? There's just rock. Yeah. For some reason, these just stand out as a kid. And it's kind of crazy because I went through a Scrooge phase where I was super Scrooged out. And, as when I had my first child, that's when I started getting back into now I love the holidays. So yeah, I'm going to give it to those for now. And what do you have for me today?
This is a song by one of the probably standout legendary artists of our era, Mr. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. This was recorded in 1975, but really reached prominence in the 1980s and beyond. It's Bruce Springsteen's version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which you've probably heard. Now, you haven't heard it necessarily, but it's become a big part of people's lives because Bruce Springsteen is considered one of the men who represents what rock and roll should feel like, sound like, and look like. And especially if you grew up in the New York area where he was famous before he was famous really in the rest of the country, you're probably certainly know what Bruce Springsteen's legend is, and this is his take on Christmas.
This is going to be cool. I've actually never heard Bruce Springsteen's version of this, so I'm excited to check it out. I'm trying to think of the version I have heard because Santa Claus is Coming to Town is actually one that would be up there with one of my favorites.
It was first written and first recorded in 1934. Christmas songs helped invent the idea of Christmas. So you got to figure this is written in 1934, recorded by hundreds of people. And so 40 years later, Bruce Springsteen recorded his own version, which you still hear all over the place today.
Awesome. Well, let's get into it, you guys. If you're here for it, like, share, comment, subscribe. I'm about to check out Bruce Springsteen's take on Christmas for the first time. Let's do it.
It's all cold down along the beach. winds whipping down the boardwalk. Hey man, you guys know what time of year it is? What time? What? Oh, Christmas time. You guys all been good and practicing real hard. Yeah. Clients, you've been rehearsing real hard now. So Santa, bring you a new saxophone, right? Everybody out there been good or what? Oh, that's not many. You guys in trouble out here. And you better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. He's making a list, he's checking it twice. He's gonna find out who's naughty and nice. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. You better be good for goodness sake. Oh, you better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. Ho, 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 ho.
All right, before we get into even more of that music, there's actually a lot there.
Sure is.
I did not expect that. First, let's maybe you can help me clarify. This sounds like a live version. Is this a live audio?
Yes, it was recorded on December 12th, 1975 at C.W. Post College on Long Island, meaning Bruce Springsteen was still not that big. He was still playing sort of colleges. Now, I will say this again and again, and for all of the insides we do, music is all about place and time and memory. So where were we on December 12th, 1975? More interesting, the next night, December 13th, 1975, Richard Pryor hosted Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live had only been on the air at that point for about 8 weeks. And the episode on December 13th, 1975, with Richard Pryor and musical guest, the wonderful and radical and inventive Gil Scott-Heron, was one of the episodes of Saturday Night Live that was to define the history of the show and set its pace. So yes, long story short, this is recorded live, and it sounds very live. Bruce Springsteen's vocal isn't perfect. The band are rough and live and ready, and I think that's a wonderful, wonderful quality.
Yeah, it gives it an authenticity. That's why it stood out to me.
Yeah, perfect
I'm
word,
not,
authenticity. And that's why it's very interesting to me that you're doing another show that has to do with vinyl, because vinyl is all about this era. It's the era of authenticity. It's the era before auto-tune. It's the era before Pro Tools, when people made very analog music and had analog expectations, where if you heard this on the radio, you didn't go, oh, this sounds all rough. You said, this sounds right to me. This sounds like rock and roll. And that's one of the things that Bruce Springsteen brought back to rock and roll. One of the things you'll hear in this song, especially as we go and listen to it, it brings back that girl group sound of the 1960s, when rock and roll was a silly, inventive, rough, wonderful thing.
Yeah, there's something about his voice. I would probably call it like a raspy soul. I remember hearing The Clash, and sometimes the lead singer, he was in these pockets, but he just had this rougher way of presenting it. It reminded me of that.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Bruce Springsteen is way more smooth, but there's this distinct raspiness and soulfulness in Springsteen's voice. And then I love how they mixed up the music. So like, I'm just thinking Santa Claus is coming to town. Maybe I'm thinking of like a Michael Jackson version or something. And I hear this, I'm like, oh, hold on, because we also get this, like we're on some bobber. Like I was just like, oh wow.
That
like
part is being sung by Clarence Clemens, who is Bruce Springsteen's legendary saxophonist and live sidekick.
You better be good for goodness sake.
He was sort of the person he played with on stage and ran around the stage with, and very famously on the cover of the album Born to Run was leaning against. And so that's Clarence Clemens singing that deep voice.
So I loved that, and I was expecting to go into this like almost like the 50s because of the way they were presenting that, but then we just speed up and we're almost like we're just in a different place now. Then I don't know if we had a saxophone just come out, but
that's what's wonderful about these first reactions is you've bridged. Then you've picked up on this. You've bridged the 1950s rock and roll with the Clash, who are to come just a few years later. And if there's a perfect description for where Bruce Springsteen was in 1975, 1976, it was an exact cross between the 1950s raw rock and roll, the 1960s girl group rock and roll, and the Clash and the punk rock that was just about to emerge. And it's weird. I hadn't even thought about this. You hear that all in this Christmas song.
Yeah, like I didn't even think of all that. His image is for sure like the leather jacket image. Dude, Dancing in the Dark is my stuff. So yeah, man, this is great. All right, let's rock. We're bringing it back. This is my first time hearing Santa Claus is Coming to Town by Bruce Springsteen. And you said the E Band?
The E Street Band. And at the beginning of the song, you heard he referenced the boardwalk. He's talking about the boardwalk in Atlantic City. And here's Santa coming in over the boardwalk.
Nice.
Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. Ho, 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 He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been better good. You better be good for goodness sake. You better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. 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 Santa Claus is
This is actually so authentic because it is rough around the edges. You hear it, and it's very rough around the edges in certain moments, but it's not too rough. The one thing I want to highlight, and this is like, me being an artist that has performed, toured and stuff like that, but at the end of the song, you can hear it. but there's little moments, and this is what you can't get with AI music and all this nonsense going on today. But if you really key in, I can close my eyes and see Bruce Springsteen performing, and there's these little pockets, and the reason he sounds this way is because he's like smiling. He's smiling with the audience. He's winking at girls, like he's doing his Bruce Springsteen thing. And if you really pay attention, you could hear it because this is the live audio, and I love it. Now, it's very obvious at the end because he's laughing during the ho, ho, ho. But if you really dial in before that, like right after the hook, you can hear him singing, and he's smiling at the crowd, and there's kind of this call and response feeling going on where the crowd's probably singing it with him. It's actually really cool if you really just embrace and feel the whole entirety of what we just listened to.
I think something that comes out in it is this was actually recorded around Christmas time. As I mentioned earlier, this was recorded in December of 1975. It was recorded right around the time of Christmas, unlike so many other Christmas songs. And I've worked with bands who record Christmas songs, and the Waitresses Christmas song who we talked about at another time. When you record a Christmas song, in order for it to be released at Christmas time, usually you have to record it in June, you have to record it in July, you have to record it in September, you have to record it in May. So you have all these stories about bands having to record Christmas songs in August. And they have to find some way in the middle of August, in the middle of the summer, to get into the Christmas spirit. So they try bringing a Christmas tree into the studio. They try putting, little lights up. But in this song, it was actually recorded at Christmas time, and I think you can tell.
Yeah, you get the feeling. That's kind of crazy you said that, because behind the scenes in the industry in general, we call it Hollywood studio magic. And sometimes it works. It's magic. Sometimes it works. But a lot of times you miss that feeling. And there's something about, like we said at the beginning of this intro, Christmas, the spirit.
And the roughness of the song really points out one of the reasons people were so excited by Bruce Springsteen when he emerged in the mid-1970s. It's so difficult, unless you were in junior high or in high school at that time, it's so difficult to explain how awful, I can't think of a better word, how awful and dull so much of rock and roll had become, which is not to say all of it was bad. You had acoustic balladeers, and you had pompous, big, progressive rock bands doing songs about Viking myths and stuff like that. What you didn't have was that great greaser, leather-jacketed spirit that had created rock and roll in the 1950s and early 1960s. And in this song, you hear why Bruce Springsteen was so emblematic of the spirit that brought that back. So you're listening to the radio and all this progressive rock and all this boring rock and all this acoustic balladeers, and all of a sudden in 1975, 76, you hear Bruce Springsteen, and it was like magic. It was like feeling, oh God, thank God we're home again. And Bruce Springsteen still brings a lot of that sort of loyalty, and I mean loyalty to the rock and roll spirit, the spirit of Chuck Berry, the spirit of Bo Diddley, the spirit of Little Richard. That's still very much in his music, and you hear it, all of that in this song.
When, I've never listened to a Bruce Springsteen album. I've only reacted to, I've heard stuff because he has really big songs and reacted here. But to add on to what you're saying, the imagery and the feeling I get, it even gives me goosebumps speaking about it, because it's almost like the hero's journey, or the blue collar story, or the underdog. When I see him, I just feel like the underdog made it. Like, it's like
Perfect.
The mechanic is singing on stage, and it's like, yo, he's killing it, and he's getting all the girls. What the, like, that's just what I feel when I see from an outsider's perspective.
And can you imagine
how
exciting that was to feel that? And you just put it so well, when your other alternative was, Led Zeppelin, who, I'm not saying anything bad about Led Zeppelin singing about Valkyries and Vikings and Lord of the Rings. And you're like, I don't want to hear about Lord of the Rings. I want to hear about the girl in the back seat. And I want to think about like people running around the stage with guitars singing pure 12-bar rock and roll.
Yeah.
Hero's Journey, perfect.
It definitely sounds like the timing of Bruce Springsteen was perfect. And I really enjoyed that. It was my first time. And so this is like a really fun, because when you think of Santa Claus is coming to town, I'm kind of like, okay, well, why are they putting me in front of this? And now I get it. Yeah. This is not Santa Claus is coming to town in any conventional way. Like, I've heard it a million times, a bunch of people singing it sounds great. This is not that. So I appreciate it. All right, well, as always, thank you, Tim. I mean, I'm going to be singing this version in my head until New Year's.
Oh, fantastic.
You know what I mean?
This is such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're having a great time. I'm excited to see what you have next for me. But speaking of that, what do you have going on in 2026?
I have 2 books coming out. One of the books is called No Sleep Till Homeroom, and it's about the fascinating teenage and underage underground in the late night New York City rock scene in the late 1970s. And I have another book coming out, an anthology of my work for the past God knows how many years, and that book is called Dispatches from the Kingdom of Outsiders. I also understand that you have a new YouTube channel coming up.
Yeah, so actually we have a new series, and we're going to just put it on this channel.
Oh,
it's going to be called,
okay.
Yeah, it's going to be called Liner Notes, and we're going to do first-time reactions to vinyl. So we're going to pull out the turntables.
Is this the first time you've had a turntable, or have you had a turntable in the past?
I've had a turntable, and then being an artist, like my DJs, even
Sure.
to this day, they spin on turntables. The technology changes, but we're actually working with Dumb Audio, and we're going to go ahead and set up the turntable and just react to vinyl. I think there's a different experience that we might get from vinyl, and I'm just kind of, even just the little the scratching, you know what I mean? I just think there's something there. So we're going to, listen to some of the classics. Hopefully, you guys will show up to check it out.
That should be fascinating. It really should, because the vinyl experience is such a dramatically different experience, and it reminds us that there was a time in the past when people created albums to listen to by side, where you had 25 minutes, about 25 minutes per side, and people very carefully calculated the flow of the songs, so they would flow 1 through 5 on side 1 and 6 through 10 on side 2, and that's an art that's almost entirely lost, since people just on their streaming devices, on Spotify and whatnot, just jump around. They don't really listen to sides anymore, and I think it's fascinating that you'll be exploring that.
Yeah, I'm super happy to start digging in the crates, as we would say in the hip-hop world, so it should be fun. Anyways, you guys, thank you for joining us today. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, and if you want to see more of Inside the Reaction, leave some really cool comments, and we will be back with you. All right, catch you guys on the next one.
Merry Christmas.
Oh yeah, Merry Christmas.